Hello everyone, how y'all doing? So today I'm going back to my roots a little bit and talk about the Ultimate Ninja Storm experience, or rather the re-experience, because I've talked about these games in the past. I've reviewed the story modes and some of the gameplay elements, and I recently decided to just revisit Storm 2, 3, and 4 story modes, and I decided to do that for two reasons. One, Hinokami Chronicles 2 is about to come out, so I figured why not look back at some of the older CC2 games, but I also just wanted to justify purchasing these games on PC, especially because there are some benefits to playing them on PC. Now, just for full disclosure, because it's sort of become the identity of this channel, yes, these games do work on Linux. I finished both Storm 3 and 4, I didn't play Storm 1 and 2, and I'll explain them in a minute, but I will say that with Storm 4, I did notice some rendering bugs during some of the quick time events, only for a short period of time, like a few seconds. I've seen similar rendering bugs with other games that have shoddy video codecs, but I don't know if I care to try to figure out how to fix this, especially because it only happened like 3 or 4 times, and it's for a very short period of time. But regardless, they work fine on Linux, nearly indistinguishable from Windows, and it's almost always been like that. Like, the Storm games are generally pretty ideal for Linux. They don't have any anti-cheat problems. Just grab your Steam Deck, install the Storm games, and have a good ass fucking time. Now, as for why I didn't revisit Storm 1 and 2, it's very simple. For Storm 1, I just didn't want to. If I wanted to have an open world experience with Part 1 Naruto, I'd rather play Rise of a Ninja or Broken Bond. Now, as for Storm 2, I did actually revisit the game, just on an emulator. This is mainly because when CyberConnect 2 remastered Storm 2, they removed some of the boss battle themes, but the one that primarily bugged me the most was Lightless Struggle. So after getting cucked like that, I thought, you know what, since the only way I can play the game the correct way is to play the PS3 version, then I'm just gonna fucking remaster it myself. I have the original copy, I dumped it, saved it on my computer, booted up RPCS 3, increased the resolution to 1080p. Do make sure to enable time stretching. If you don't do this, the pre-rendered cutscenes might go out of sync, but after that, I'm able to get a swell experience, with the only downside being that I'm locked to 30 FPS. Something that isn't an issue when I play Storm 3, though I did initially assume this would be a problem. So one of the things I had to learn from the internet prior to me purchasing these games on PC was the fact that presumably the quick time events have their timings all fucked up when you play the Storm trilogy at 60 FPS, which gives me strong flashbacks to Yakuza 3 and 4. Now with Storm 1 and 2, there's a config file that you can edit to make the game play at 30 FPS, but with Storm 3, I actually couldn't find that option. So I thought, fuck it I guess, I don't want to emulate the game because Storm 3 and Revolution look really jagged in RPCS 3, and there are some rendering issues that haven't been ironed out, and I didn't really want to play the original PC build of Storm 3 because I wanted higher textures. So I decided that I would just put up with the QTEs, but in the end I found out that the timings are actually not bad. They're very doable. I might even prefer playing it like this over 30 FPS. Maybe the rapid timings are only an issue with Storm 1 and 2, I have no clue, but regardless, I was able to play Storm 3 pretty comfortably. A part of me was hoping that the slowdowns during Awakenings could get mitigated now that I have a PC that's well above the required specifications, but unfortunately the slowdowns are still an issue. The latency is better since I'm playing at a higher frame rate, but I do still find Storm 3 to overall be notably less responsive compared to Storm 4. I just have a lot more trouble reacting defensively, counteracting. It's not as bad as Storm 1, don't get me wrong. Like, Storm 1 is in its own class when it comes to how clunky and unresponsive it is. But as someone who can be a little sensitive to reaction times and input latency, I appreciate the higher frame rate, but it's still a little unresponsive, especially compared to Storm 4. Speaking of which, there's not a lot that I want to comment on Storm 4, but I do want to know two things. For one, and this is something that I had to do with Storm 3 as well, if you're someone like me who's more used to the PlayStation buttons, there is a mod that you can install that will replace the Xbox buttons with the PlayStation buttons. Normally, I don't have trouble bouncing between the two when playing video games, but when I have to do quick time events, the last thing I want to do is to mix up X with square. I still find it really stupid that these games don't switch to PlayStation buttons when it detects that it has a DualShock or DualSense controller. Like, why is this still an issue in today's day and age? But whatever. Now, another mod that I had to install was something called Ultimate Story Difficulty. Now, if you've played Storm 4, then you probably know that this game has a pitifully easy difficulty. Like, even when compared to the previous Storm games, the fact that you're not penalized for misinputting the QTEs, the fact that they increased the time window for inputting the quick times, even to the point where they'll just outright freeze time. Some of the QTEs boil down to you pressing the same fucking button 4 times. Although of course, these are mostly nerfs related to the quick time events. As for the actual AI, while there isn't a lot for me to criticize relative to the previous games, at the same time, I wouldn't exactly describe them as all that hard to beat. They're very easy, like newborn babies can probably beat this game. So I decided to install this mod called Ultimate Story Difficulty that essentially buffs up the attacks and defense stats. It increases the amount of times the AI uses substitution and other skills, and as a result, I did feel like I was generally having more fun playing this game compared to the vanilla experience, because there was a genuine possibility that I could actually lose. And it also makes this game a little more fun to try to S rank, because one of the requirements for S ranking is making sure your health isn't getting butt fucked, and since the AI does more damage, this is actually a bit of a challenging task, which is great. It gives the game more replay value, it encourages you to be more skilled at the game. It's a win for everyone. Anyway, after all of this, here's the real question. Have these games aged well? Are these perhaps not as good as I remember? Have my opinions changed since the last time I played them? Nah, not much. I will say though that after revisiting the PS2 Ultimate Ninja games not so long ago, I would certainly say that I'm a little more upset by the fact that the Storm games have made the open world experience worse and worse. I mean, I already felt that way when I first played the Storm games, but I would say that I'm even more salty now, and it doesn't seem like Hinokami Chronicles 2 is gonna offer that much improvement in the open world department either. So yeah, maybe in the future we'll get a good open world experience with Naruto, whether it's Cyber Connect 2 or another studio. But in the meantime, I guess we're left with Ubisoft, which is a disgusting concept. Anyway, that's all I had to share. Take care.